What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Monkey Knife Fight MLB strategy show here at Awesemo. I am Eric Lindquist, joined along with Greg Ehrenberg. I should probably learn how to say his name correctly. I've done only 100 shows with him at this point in time, but we are going to talk some MLB props with you. We're going to talk all of our goodies over at Monkey Knife Fight. But first, how you doing, my dude?
Okay. A lot of NBA injuries definitely dampening the morning, but I just finished a baseball show talking about the early slate. Now I get to do another baseball show talking about this, and then eventually eat food.
Eventually food. Yeah, not yet. You're busy. But yeah, no, it's been a nuts morning. I'm not going to even lie. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do with NBA, but that is none of our concern because, again, this is the MLB where things are consistent and we don't have to worry about crazy stuff at the moment. But our show today is sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. Their player props-based contests are so easy to play and they do not require the same amount of time commitment that other DFS sites require in order to be competitive. Over at their site, you are in charge, whether it's NBA, UFC, PGA, esports, soccer. They have everything over there. So head over to it and check out which game you want to play, your contest type, and your buy-in. And even better, Monkey Knife Fight has an instant first match deposit bonus of up to $100 when you sign up with the promo code Awesemo. That is a great way to get your foot in the door, get that free $100. But Monkey Knife Fight also has a free MLB game for new users tonight for the Dodgers-Phillies game. All you got to do is select whether Clayton Kershaw or Zack Wheeler has more or less than 7.5 strikeouts. So if you correctly predict both right, you win $18. That's simple, and that's 100% free for anybody who's a new user over at Monkey Knife Fight. We will get to that a little bit later in our program, but we are going to start a little bit on. Are you ready to get going, my guy?
Hey, you're leading the ship. You're the captain. Whatever you tell me to talk about, I
am the captain now. That is me. That is absolutely me. So what we're going to start off with, I've identified a couple of my favorite plays over there today. One of the beautiful parts about playing over at Monkey Knife Fight, and what I really enjoy, is that I don't have to necessarily worry about ownership. I get to just play the best plays. When I'm worried about San Diego Padres and Colorado Rockies, I don't have to think about any of the cumulative ownership that they have going for those teams. But my first pick, my first spot that I am targeting today is going to the San Diego Padres, who I think can finally show up a little bit. Yesterday, I was on Fernando Tatis. He ended up getting there in the first inning. That was about all that the San Diego Padres did yesterday, ruining just about everything else. But looking at their home run props, looking at those numbers, I'm going to be targeting over 0.5. So if you basically are looking around the rest of the industry and you're seeing numbers like plus 250, plus 230, if you combine three of those together, I think you can get a positive EV bet on something that can 2x your money, getting that money back. So I'm going to be targeting Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, and then we can kind of have a little bit of a debate on who we want to have be the Colorado Rocky on the other side. But I think from the beginning of it, like you're looking at these hard hit rates for both Machado and for Fernando Tatis. They seem like the most likely players on the Padres in 100-degree weather today in Colorado to hit home runs. Do you agree with that? And then who might you put together with them from the other side?
Yeah. So, on the other side of the game, we're talking about the Rockies. Trevor Story would have to be the most likely one. Blake Snell has been a little disappointing this year. He's a guy who has won the Cy Young Award in the past. He's been one of the top pitchers in baseball really for a long period of time, but not this year. This year, we've got Blake Snell with a 4.97 ERA, a 4.67 expected ERA. And one thing is, even when Blake Snell was really good, he always tended to be a guy who could be a little bit home run prone. So over the last 3 years, we've seen Blake Snell, 2019, 15.4% home run to fly ball rate. 2020, 29.4% home run to fly ball rate. And then this year, 18.2% home run to fly ball rate. So that in mind, all numbers that are well above league average. And then also we have Trevor Story hitting at home, Coors Field. He's always had great power numbers there. He's also historically been a much better hitter against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. So Trevor Story is, I think, the guy most likely to homer from Colorado.
I definitely agree with that. And I think a small portion of, maybe it's 1-2%, I don't know what it would be, but he's hitting out of the 3-hole instead of the 4-hole. That little bit of an upgrade when you're trying to hit one home run, getting a possibility of another at bat, or, obviously you would have to get on base in order for Crone to get up there. But I think it's a better opportunity for him to get the guaranteed at bat there. So I do like going to him as well. As you said, just hitting the ball really, really hard for the most part in Coors Field. Traditionally, only 35.5% hard hit percentage this season. But on the other side, Tatis, Machado, is there anything you could possibly say against going to them? Probably the most two popular plays to hit a home run on the board for sure from this afternoon slate, but 55% hard hit percentage, 53.6% for Manny Machado. Both of them just what could you possibly say?
No, I mean, I think Tatis pretty clearly the player most likely to homer on the early slate. Tatis overall for the year has actually been a better hitter against right-handed pitching, left-handed pitching. So if you said before, what can you say bad about him? That would be my only thing that I'd nitpick a little bit, but not too concerned about that moving forward. Also, small sample size. He's only had 42 plate appearances against left-handed pitching, but even so, he's going to be in Coors Field here today. Obviously, the weather is going to be a big factor. Also, we saw Greg SJ in our YouTube chat said it's going to be 100 degrees in Colorado today. Yep, projected to be 101 degrees today. So the ball likely going to be carrying. Fernando Tatis, I think, is pretty clearly the guy most likely to homer today.
Decent little game environment, not going to lie. Definitely a spot to be targeting. And again, you don't have to worry about ownership. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's move it right along. So now we're going to talk a little bit about pitchers, and then we'll kind of open it up to see if there's anything else that you really like over at Monkey Knife Fight. But we just talked about the afternoon slate, and I thought it would be very interesting to take a little bit of your expertise. We talked about SP2s, or you did specifically on the last show that you were on here for the live before lock for the afternoon slate. Detroit Tigers and Kansas City Royals. You've got two pitchers in Skubal and Brady Singer, who are kind of going to be popular SP2s. Singer much more so. He's been showing elite stuff for the most part comparatively. It's another good hitting environment, but he's limiting hard contact. But we're just worried about Ks here on this spot. We have 6.5 Ks for Skubal, 5.5 for Brady Singer, more or less. Which side would you be on? Skubal, a guy who 27.9% K percentage on the season, but can get hit. Guess that's none of his concern as long as he can get those pitches up against his KC team that doesn't tend to K a ton, but curious if you have any kind of a lean on either of these two.
Yeah, so, it's funny. So for DFS, I prefer Skubal just because of the difference in ownership. Where if Brady Singer is projected to be massively popular for the slate that starts in 30 minutes, whereas Skubal isn't. So in that situation, Skubal looks like a good pivot play for, only a fourth of the ownership is Brady Singer. But then we look at the K numbers on Monkey Knife Fight, more or less 6.5 strikeouts for Tarik Skubal, more or less 5.5 strikeouts for Brady Singer. And I have to lean towards Singer when you consider that he has the lower number here. So Brady Singer for the year, he does have a 4.85 ERA, except that looks like he's been a little bit unlucky. So although still, I think when we're talking about the K-pop, we're probably not all that worried about it other than, if he gets blown up, then maybe he's more likely to come out of the game early. But 23.6% K rate going up against the Tigers, one of the worst offenses in baseball. So I think more than 5.5 strikeouts for Brady Singer is a pretty strong way to go.
Definitely agree there. I think that this is a great opportunity to kind of diversify your portfolio because, again, we're worried about Ks in DFS as well, but popularity and also their likelihood of being able to be the top pitcher on a slate with the help of the top pitcher tool over at Awesemo as well. I can't see a way where I wouldn't want to have a little bit of Skubal today. And then this gives you the opportunity to be on both sides of it. Wasn't necessarily affected either way. And if you get both right, again, you're hitting a multiplier on your money, 3x your buy-in here. So it's a nice number to be getting on those pitchers. Now let's kind of move ourselves along. There's a late night hammer. So this is the game that we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Monkey Knife Fight prop of the day that they have going to go get that win, to go win the $18. Clayton Kershaw and Zack Wheeler. It's amazing because before I even knew that this was the one that they were targeting, I kind of had my eye on it. So I wanted to be looking at less than Clayton Kershaw, 7.5 strikeouts, less than 7.5 strikeouts for Zack Wheeler. If you head over to Odd Shopper, it's got right now for both of them a shade a little bit like right around 130, minus 130, minus 140 for less than on both of those numbers as well. That kind of makes me look at going that direction as well. But the Dodgers do not strike out a whole heck of a lot. Kershaw, not the greatest K rate amongst the elite pitchers on this slate. But who are you kind of looking at or which side are you on for this? Are you going to be agreeing with me?
So I like less than for Clayton Kershaw. I actually like more than for Zack Wheeler. And it's kind of interesting for Wheeler because his numbers are so much different this year than it's ever been at any other point in his career, where he's a guy 32.4% K rate this year, 23.3% for his career. So he's always been a guy who's been a good starting pitcher, but he's never been a great strikeout guy. He's never been a great fantasy pitcher until this year. And, there are reasons to look at his numbers and think something's changed. For starters, he's throwing much harder now than he ever has in the past. And he was always a guy who threw pretty hard, but now it's gone up to a new level. So 97.5 average fastball velocity for Zack Wheeler. That's the hardest of his career. It's generating more swing and misses for him. And I think I could point at that and say that's the reason why his strikeout rate has gone all the way up to over 30% this year. So it is certainly a tough matchup against the Dodgers, but given what we've seen from Wheeler so far this year, I like the Moreland for a strikeout prop.
Yeah, that it's such an interesting thing for him too. In DFS, I was looking at him earlier, and everything is just trending up for him. My big issue is that you look up and down this entire Dodgers team. I mean, McKinstry, I would want to see in the lineup. He's the only guy who has above a 25% K percentage for the entire season that could possibly be in that lineup. And more than likely, it's going to be like yesterday, where he's in the 8-hole, only probably going to get 3 at bats, 3 opportunities for it. But you go through the rest of this team. Pujols is under 15%. Mookie Betts around 15%. Will Smith 17%. I mean, these are elite numbers for guys that are going to be hitting higher in the order. And I find it difficult. Obviously, you get the pitcher spot, and Clayton Kershaw is a serviceable hitter for the most part, comparatively to others, but he is going to K out at a higher percentage than most other people. So he gets that little bit of a National League bump there. But yeah, as you said, Zack Wheeler's been a lot better. I still think I'm going to be shining a little bit on the under in this direction. I've got to be taking less than for this number. 7.5 just seems a little bit large. I also want to let it be known that props can change between now and between game time. So make sure that you can lock in these numbers on 7.5. They can change. They can move around a little bit here and there. If Clayton Kershaw drops to 6.5, that would be not a good situation for you. You would definitely probably be staying away from this as something you'd be targeting. But less than, I think, at 7.5 is such a good number to be getting for him. And then the same for Zack Wheeler. If that number were to move to 8.5 per se, would you be taking more or less than 8.5 in that spot?
Less than, even as I think it's a pretty fair number. So I slightly like more than 7.5, but I think it's about fair. I just, I have to pick one of the sides, so I'm siding with more than. But if the number was to change, I would feel differently.
Yeah, it's a free contest. I mean, you can't say anything bad about a free $18 contest for new users. Definitely be checking that out. That's a great spot to be going. Do you want to try anything else? I was going to say there's a home run derby that we can take a look at. There's some really good hitting environments on the slate. Perhaps something else that we might want to target for one of the star shootouts that they have over at their site. Do you want to try our luck at here? We've got Chris at the helm behind the glass helping us out, moving around. So if he wants to click on the star shootout, and we can go from there. But let's take a look at some home runs possibly. Is there anybody else who would be the most likely guy in the afternoon, would you say, to hit a home run?
What are we counting? I mean, it would be Fernando Tatis, but what are we counting as the afternoon? Are we talking about your time, okay, my time? Because
I say afternoon. See, this is you live in the future. You live 3 hours in the future. I live 3 hours in the past. And so my afternoon, I'm thinking 4 o'clock lock. So 7 o'clock your time. The evening slate. How about that? That looks and sounds a lot better.
Yeah, we could go ahead and do that. Let's see. So we are, which contest are we looking at?
The home run derby. So we're on the home run derby going around. I mean, Garrett Cole is going to be pitching in that Toronto game. Don't really want to be targeting the Vlad Guerrero Jr. nearly as much as I would want to. However, Garrett Cole has given up quite a bit of hard contact of late. Maybe that's a spot that we could be going to, but righty on righty, is that maybe a guy that you'd be playing, or would that just be a complete stay away? Why would you target Garrett Cole?
Yeah, I mean, so I have concerns about Garrett Cole, spin rate and whatnot going forward. I think there's a bunch of pitchers who could potentially drop off going forward now that the MLB is cracking down on pitchers using substances. But even with that in mind, we're talking about Garrett Cole being from a Cy Young winning pitcher to being maybe, still a top pitcher in rotation. So I think there is potential for him to regress, but not to where I want to target him.
So why don't we go to this? Let's click the first guy in. Let's build a $5 team. I think that's something that I want to be doing right now. I'll be clicking it here as we go. My first player in, my pick for the evening to hit a home run, one Nelson Cruz. Now, I absolutely don't know why the Twins can't get their stuff together here at the moment, but Justice Sheffield giving up expected velocity, 91.2 miles per hour here, 42.1% hard hit percentage, ex-WOBA 373, ex-slugging 500. I mean, this guy is not a good major league pitcher. It's a lefty going up against Nelson Cruz. We know the kind of pop that he has. Hard hit percentage, 55.1%. I mean, the Twins in general are a team that will start hitting home runs here again. They just have maybe, I don't even know if it's a maybe. I think they absolutely have the worst pitching staff in Major League Baseball here at the moment. How do you feel about Nelson Cruz, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Nelson Cruz is sensible, a man who has defied the age of time. By the way, we're concerned about all the substances pitchers are using, but I mean, what about some of the substances that Nelson Cruz has injected into him over the course of his career? Because here's a guy who is now, like over the age of 40 and continues to get better. Also, has been popped for steroids at one point in his career. But that aside, he's been one of the best power hitters in baseball for a while, and certainly be a sensible enough pick in my opinion.
I think I led him astray as well. We got to go to the night slate. I clicked on the night slate. He's not available on that first session that we have going, so he doesn't seem to be popping up. Yep, that's 100% on me. Look at that. Nelson Cruz, he will show up right there. So he's my first guy in that I would want to be targeting. Going around the rest of those games as we're looking in the evening section, I'm trying to figure out if there's somebody else that would really be popping. I think it'd be kind of a fool's errand to be targeting a bunch of, the Will Smith, any of the Dodgers or Phillies in this spot on a game where you're not being forced to play them the way that you might on a regular DFS site. But I will say that we saw yesterday, Arizona and San Francisco were finding some absolute pop here and there. Perhaps a Brandon Crawford, somebody going in that direction, or on the other side, maybe Ketel Marte for Arizona. Do you have any kind of a feel for another player from this evening slate of games as we're looking at who else is kind of in the rest of that session? We've got Arizona and San Francisco, Philly and the Dodgers, and then, of course, the late night hammer there with Seattle and the Twins.
Yeah. So, but by the way, this time difference thing really ended up being an issue, because now I don't know which games you're really talking about. Chris doesn't know. It's like evening, afternoon, night. So just read one more time for me. Tell me which games.
Got it. The night games. So I'm saying night now regarding to what is listed as on Monkey Knife Fight here. We've got the home run derby, night games. I love Nelson Cruz. I would actually put Josh Donaldson in that bucket as well. Another guy that's hitting and just smoking the ball. Has a little bit higher launch angle too. 13.2 launch angle here for the season. 50.7% hard hit rate. I really like pairing Josh Donaldson and Nelson Cruz up against a lefty. Why not?
Yeah. So one thing that is tough about the just trying to find home runs from the night slate is we do have a lot of good pitching. And while we do have the Arizona Diamondbacks, by the way, they have lost, 27 over the last 28 games on the road. So they've been terrible on the road. The Giants have had a much better offense than expected this year, except, still, it's not like an offense that has all that much power upside. I know you mentioned Brandon Crawford. I tend to think he's going to regress a little bit. He already has the second most home runs he's ever had in his career. So I agree with you. Donaldson, Nelson Cruz. I think anybody that we're going to target most sensibly would be coming from the Minnesota Twins tonight.
Yeah, agreed. And for me, it just really comes down to Merrill Kelly, who came out. Yeah, I think he started the season out all right, but he is just not very good. 40.7% hard hit percentage on the season. That's not a good number. Giving exit velocity around 89.7% with a launch angle over 12. Yeah, sign me up for targeting him with a couple of these lefties, perhaps Brandon Belt. I think that that's another guy in DFS where, okay here and there, but absolutely think that he's been over his head as well. 47.7% hard hit percentage on the season as well. But possibly either Crawford or Brandon Belt, putting them alongside two of these Twins. I'm definitely a Twins fan. That's just fine. I can be a homer and play over a Monkey Knife Fight and not have to worry about too much. But is there anything else that kind of looks like it stands out to you on the board? We can go through maybe another pitching prop here or there. Is there a pitching matchup that you might have your eye on from a specific game where we could be looking at both sides of it?
I wouldn't say both sides, but we do have a Jacob deGrom night. And whenever he is pitching, I think it's sensible to look at any of the props he has. So, Chris, if we could select the Cubs-Mets game, which starts at 7:10 p.m. Eastern time, that would be 4:10 p.m. Eric time. And I mean, the first thing that I see here is we have more or less 9.5 strikeouts for Jacob deGrom. deGrom's going to be an interesting one for me today, because deGrom is somebody who I'd always side with more on basically anything that involves him, unless, it's, 4.5 hits, then that would be, a less situation. But, whenever it's strikeouts, I always want to go to more with Jacob deGrom, but, he's dealt with a back injury. And last time out, he dealt with a forearm/elbow type soreness. So Jacob deGrom is going to be a very popular play for, FanDuel and DraftKings purposes today. And I think that makes him for an important talking point as far as fantasy goes today. So do you think that Jacob deGrom is going to be limited at all today?
I mean, he's already been limited. That's my thing, is I think that there's potential for him to go up from where he's at. He's only pitched 80 and 85 pitches his last two games, hit 10 Ks and 11 Ks in those. I think it's very unlikely you get less than 80 pitches out of Jacob deGrom. So 9.5, I just think is too low. The Cubs strike out at the 7th highest rate in all of Major League Baseball on the season. I feel like this is a fantastic spot to be taking more on 9.5 for Jacob deGrom. I'm very bullish on it. I think in DFS, I think 12-2 on the FD, I think on DK, looking at 11K. Those are too low of numbers. But specifically on Monkey Knife Fight, I absolutely love getting to over 9.5 because if he gets any more run than that, I mean, he was very, very limited in a couple of those starts earlier, but we're starting to see the pitch count trend up a little bit more. 109 was the most that he's had on the entire season. That was against Washington back in April. That was a long time ago, but 85 and 80, if he's getting there already with that, there's nothing else that you can possibly say that would be against him. If he gets to 90 pitches, I find it very unlikely he doesn't exceed 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's I mean, deGrom's been as unhittable as anyone could get. He's actually, somebody who a lot of people would pick to win the National League Cy Young at this point in the season. And still, I'm going to read off Jacob deGrom's strikeout numbers and starts this year. 10, 11, 8, 9, 6, 9, 15, 14, 14. Those are his last handful of starts. So only been less than 9.5 in 2 of how many starts did I just read off there? 8 or 9. So, with that in mind, I definitely say more than 9.5 strikeouts for Jacob deGrom.
So now we got to talk Anthony Rizzo. So we have hits and walks. Now, I love that walks is partnered with it because then you're not just necessarily it's plate appearances and at-bats. It's always kind of a thing when you're going through your data that you got to decipher through. But walk rate on the entire season, looking at his walk rate for Anthony Rizzo, I think even having that, I mean, this is just not a guy you want to be targeting. I don't want to play anybody against Jacob deGrom. I mean, this bullpen is the spot where we'd be more likely to see Anthony Rizzo get on base, but I think I'm going to be going less than on the 1.5. I could see him getting 1 or 2 there from the bullpen, but I'm willing to take that chance that in those last 3 innings or 2 innings, whatever it would be when Jacob deGrom gets out of the game, that Rizzo will not get on base.
Yeah, plus there's a correlation here, right? So if Jacob deGrom is going to have a good outing and we both expect him to get more than 9.5 strikeouts, it stands to reason he's going to work deep into the game, which can't be a good thing for Anthony Rizzo. So less than 1.5 hits plus walks for Rizzo. I mean, I think you could put the number at 0.5 and I would struggle to say more or less than that just because Jacob deGrom's been so dominant this year. So to me, Anthony Rizzo reaching base multiple times in this game, that seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, that's another great point. I mean, this is why we bring you on these shows, Greg, because you bring up the sharp stuff. I just rattle off numbers and throw all of that stuff together, live in the past here on Eric time. But I think that that's another fantastic addition. I might like that one more than just about everything else that we've been talking about earlier. That's kind of the fun part about playing over a Monkey Knife Fight, being able to scroll through, find the different options. If you're attending a game, I know I'll be going to a Dodger game here again soon next week, now that they've got everything reopened and set up to go. I'm going to enjoy being able to put together a couple of props and being able to play some of these contests as I'm going here and there. It makes it a lot more fun, a lot more interesting to check that out. But for sure tonight, you get that free opportunity. If you sign up using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get that first deposit match bonus, $100 in your account, fire it up, and also fire up that Clayton Kershaw, Zack Wheeler, more or less 7.5 strikeouts. I love less than on both. I believe Greg Ehrenberg was a little bit more bullish on Zack Wheeler, which is a good spot to be going. But any final thoughts, Greg, for the evening?
Jacob deGrom, more than 9.5 strikeouts. Anthony Rizzo, less than 1.5 walks and hits. That's actually, of the things we talked about, that's what we stumbled upon that I like the best.
Yeah, that's the beauty about being over here. But that's going to do it for today. I think Monkey Knife Fight, there are a lot of great opportunities to check out the MLB stuff. Make sure you check out the NBA stuff, as the NBA has been set on fire here for the evening. Probably going to be some advantageous props to find across the industry, but specifically with our friends over at MKF. For Greg, I'm Eric. We'll catch you later, folks.